2 years ago, my friend got into creating eco-tanks, laying about 3 centimeters of fine sand at the bottom. He found a rotten piece of wood outdoors and put it inside. He drilled a hole in it and inserted a stone to weigh it down. Then he filled the tank with pure natural tap water, tied the stone to the wood, added this kind of aquatic plant plus another type, and stuck the leftover stones into the sand, just letting it grow naturally. It seems like the fish store didn't quite get it. They didn't realize that without nutrients in the water, the plants can't grow. So the store bought some aquatic plant soil and swapped out the sand for it. After that, they added these little cherry shrimp. They like eating jujube and also need minerals and calcium to molt properly. He also raised some snails. After barbecuing these snails, they could provide protein for the little shrimp. A month later, my friend felt the small tank wasn't enough to support a complete ecosystem, so he bought a bigger tank and transferred the water, plants, and mud from the small tank into the big one. Just add a bit more and boil some water to soak the driftwood, which helps keep the moss moist. Also, pour boiling water over the thread to clean it. The pot is already smelling good, and the watercolor has changed a lot. Replant the aquatic plants into the fish tank, toss in a few marimo balls, and stick in a water plant leaf clip. After 2 days, a white fuzzy layer grew on the driftwood. Why is it moldy? It's actually a kind of bacteria, though it looks kinda ugly. Folks decided to go fishing and swapped to a black volcanic rock. It looks really nice with lots of holes and contains various minerals. You can also add shrimp. These little shrimps are almost transparent, and that black line on their body is their intestine. Inside, there are all the algae it's been eating non-stop. It keeps munching away, then poops out these little algae sticks, segment by segment. A few days later, the aquatic plant's leaves get really clean. More shrimp were added to the tank so they can thrive on their own in this eco-friendly setup. The filter got removed from the tank, and there's no extra oxygen supply. But luckily the plants produce some oxygen through photosynthesis. The bubbles you see on the leaves are oxygen. The tank has a lot of black stones, but maybe there aren't enough algae on them for the shrimp to eat. So, my friend added some water algae to the tank. Besides eating some microorganisms, the algae also serve as food for the shrimp. After a while, the tank became covered with algae of all sizes, especially thick patches. If you zoom in, they kinda look like some alien creatures. This snail has something inside, probably eggs about to hatch. If you look at the bottom of the big fish tank, you can see all kinds of microorganisms. This one looks like a cyclops with a red eye on its head, and this one is definitely the female cyclops. Inside, there are all kinds of different bugs. The seller was a bit worried that the nutrient-rich mud would cause algae to grow out of control. Luckily, the aquatic plants were growing fast too, so they competed with the algae for nutrients. After 3 months, the amount of algae kept decreasing. Maybe the tank got too clean, and there weren't enough microorganisms for them to feed on. The seller also noticed a bunch of yellow stuff under a shrimp's body. It turned out to be shrimp eggs. A whole bunch of eggs should hatch into lots of baby shrimp. He kept an eye on the shrimp eggs, and after a few days, 2 little black dots showed up inside. Those must be the baby shrimp's eyes. Its abdomen kept moving to make sure the eggs got enough oxygen. My friend was really eager to see the baby shrimp hatch. One night, he noticed some tiny white dots in the tank. It turned out those were the baby shrimp. The shrimp farmer quickly found the mother shrimp and finally saw the baby shrimp being pulled out from under her belly. They were tiny and pretty cute. 6 months later, the baby shrimp had grown up, but the bad news was the algae in the tank got out of control. The stones and black rocks were covered with algae, and the shrimp couldn't eat them fast enough to keep up with how quickly the algae was growing. So, The farmer decided to add some algae-eating pros, like amano shrimp and algae-eating shrimp. They're really good at eating algae, but it didn't seem to help much. The plants in the tank started to rot, and the water became really nutrient-rich, kind of dirty. The algae started growing fast and eventually got out of control again, so the whole ecosystem had to be rebuilt. A few days later, there was good news and bad news. The good news, all the algae in the tank were gone. The bad news, the shrimp didn't have enough food and were eating their girlfriends. 9 months later, it was time to seal up the fish tank. Since we're creating an ecosystem, it needed to be self-sustaining. I covered the tank with a piece of glass and sealed the gaps with silicone. I left some air inside. The water inside evaporated and fogged up the glass. But some moss started turning yellow and the shrimp began eating each other. He decided to open the lid and let them taste some food they hadn't had in a long time.